G'day friends, welcome to today's video. I've got Steve here.
G'day friends, welcome to today's video. Hi everybody.
Is that what I sound like? Do it for real. Do a proper impression.
A real one?
Yeah.
G'day friends, welcome to today's video.
It's a lot. That's Steve Irwin of crafting.
That's what my ears hear when they hear you.
Yeah, that's so funny. My mum says that. My mum said that to you once about a photo, right?
Yeah, a photo that I was editing of myself. I was beautifying my face a little bit.
Just a little bit of a tune-up.
Yeah, a little bit of like, reduce the shadow under the eye type thing.
And you were saying, well, because that's like you want to present the best version of yourself or whatever, and you did a bit of face tune, but she said, why?
She's like, why?
False advertising. That's what my eyes see when they see you.
She's like, huh? Well, that's what my eyes see when they see you.
It's true, though, no.
So I was like, well, I'm glad that that's what your eyes see when they see me.
Sometimes it's very unflattering light, though. I do get that. Well, I'm glad your ears hear that. Better your ears than my ears. Actually, I used to hate the sound of my voice.
I hate the sound of my voice currently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sometimes.
Did I?
Thanks.
No. Well, I'm obviously gotten over it at some point.
I don't hate it. I just it sounds weird to me.
It is weird to hear it back.
When you hear it back, I'm like, that's what I sound like?
Sometimes I'm very aware of my voice when I'm actually speaking, and I start to get really annoyed with it. And then other times I hear it back and I think, why did I hate it for so long? Like, it's just a standard voice.
It was a nice voice.
It sounds a lot higher to yourself.
What? When you listen to?
Like when I used to listen to it on the old answering machine at home.
What? When you listen to your voice back?
Right.
Like when you were calling, or like with the voice?
I was also going through puberty, so I guess my voice was just developing.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. I feel like I should try to get a hold of my old home videos and see what I actually used to
I just sent you some of mine, right? My mum found some. My stepdad's been taking the videos and been putting them from the old tapes onto hard drives.
Yeah, like
so,
digital,
digitizing that whole process. And my mum was down there just over a weekend looking at them all. She was sending me screenshots of the computer, and I'm doing full reenactments of Kath and Kim, both parts, Kath and Kim, with wig and dress. Did I not send you that one?
No.
And I have the squeakiest little mouse voice that I swear I've had for until I literally went through puberty. I sounded like an annoying rodent.
The only thing that I remember about mine was it was when Little Mermaid came out, and I was singing what I thought were the lyrics to Kiss the Girl. Oh. The actual lyrics are sha la 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 my oh my, look like the boy too shy, you gonna kiss the girl. That's the actual lyrics, and I think I was going sha la ma 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 oh my my. And I'm literally
is that the Spanish version?
No, I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, I am like so. Not deathly allergic. I'm just so that's the one thing that I'm like freaked out the most. I'm so like embarrassed by that one video.
Oh, your childhood singing? Oh, that one
video. Because I had no idea that my dad was filming, and then I realized he was, and then I tried to play it cool.
Oh, see, I was the complete opposite. If I knew someone was filming, my face was in front of that camera. It was
I'd like to say that maybe I was, but I don't think it was. I feel like my brothers were more like that.
I couldn't help myself. And it was such a novelty back then because the camera never came out.
Because it was literally like the movies.
Yeah, you knew that there was something special going on if that camera was out. Like it was someone's birthday, it was Christmas.
I remember when it broke and my dad was devastated. And so he had to go back and go get another one. Like a new one, like a new model. And it was like different tapes that went inside of it. He was not ready to handle that.
What about when, if you went on Funniest Home Videos, they would give you a JVC camcorder. And I used to think it was the coolest thing ever because They would flip out
as you won. If you
won. and you would. There was like a handheld loop in there, and because our video recorders used to be separate from our cameras. I'm just putting this out there for all the millennials that might be watching. I'm sure that 90% of people watching this video today know exactly.
We thought we were so hip because we didn't actually I don't want to say we thought that we were. I think my dad thought that we were really hip, but I thought that we were fake because the recorder that we had small tapes. And it didn't have like the actual VHS movie tape, so it didn't feel like it was a real movie. So the only way that you could watch it is if you plugged the camcorder
with the AV cords into the video VHR player on the VCR on the thing. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what we had too. They were little tapes.
Right, and then they came out with tape that one of the wheels was bigger and the other one was smaller, so you could put it inside of a VHS tape converter and then put it into your VCR.
Do you remember mini discs?
Yeah, that was like a novelty for what, a handful of years?
Yeah, my old
And people
dance
thought it
teacher
was so-
used to have mini discs, and I thought it was the most technologically insane thing I've ever seen.
That, and then there was also laser discs. Do you remember laser discs, which looked like big records, but they were essentially DVDs, just the size of a record.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, it was such a thing. Like, I don't know, in the 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, and people were like, "Oh, go get a laser disc player because the quality is so good."
That's like when they say now. I mean, you've got Blu-rays and 4Vs and
The 4K and all
I
that
don't know what
stuff.
it's all called. Yeah, literally, I don't even think my eyes can go that sharp. So why do I need to buy a TV that can go that sharp?
But you know what's crazy though is that if you go back to like 2003, so what, 16 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, and you look
Wow.
at what the quality of TV was back then versus what TV is now, and we saw it like on the Whitney Houston documentary that we just watched.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, Whitney 2003," and it looks like it's from something from like the 70s because it's so pixelated.
Yeah, it looks analog.
Yeah. It's crazy the quality of
Super
what's happened.
interesting. I remember when when we got our first. No, we didn't. Dave got his first digital camera. It was an Olympus, I think.
It was like what, like
It held maybe 12
like-
to 15 photos.
yeah, but it was like 3.2 megapixels.
Right, and it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Oh,
Like
so
it was
expensive.
so expensive. And I remember just thinking, like, wow, we can take as many 12 sets of photos and delete them as much as we want.
Right, and you're not wasting film.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good for us in our photography.
But I did love going to, like, I would take it to the drugstore, the film, and then we'd go back the next day. Well, we'd go back a week later, and then the novelty was when it was like 24-hour developing. And then when it became 1 hour developing process, it was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was so excited for that.
Yeah, good memories. We weren't even going to talk about that today. How did we get talking about that?
I don't know, but it was crazy because I remember going with my dad, like, to like the local drugstore every Saturday, and he'd be like, "Let's go pick up some pictures." And I thought it was so much fun to go to drugstore, pick up the photos in the envelope, and just look at them there.
No offense, I still think it's so weird that you call it a drugstore here. For obvious reasons, but in my country it's called a pharmacy or the chemist, so you're going to go to the chemist.
But see, a chemist here sounds like you're literally
Breaking
pouring,
Bad.
Yeah, pouring things, and it's like in the vials and the smoke and the things are bubbling.
Yeah, but you know what yours sounds like? I mean, I never engage in this argument
It's all
because we
the
always
same.
win. We always lose as Australians.
Well,
but
pharmacy, drugstore, chemist. It all
drugstore just sounds insane to me.
Well, pharmacy sounds like...
But what adults were taking their kids to drugstores?
Yeah, but the pharmacy sounds just like you're only going for medicine.
Well, typically that's what would be there. You wouldn't go to Bloom's the chemist to get your photos printed, would you? I don't know. Maybe other Australians did that. We'd go to Big W not Big W. Yeah, no, Big W to get my photos printed. Or the old Kodak store. Like
Yeah, see,
Kodak's
we
used
didn't
to
have
have
that.
stores.
Yeah, but we didn't have that. I mean, I'm sure there was some of them, but we had Long's Drugs or Payless. Or Payless.
It used
Yeah,
to
or
be a
drugs.
thing. Auntie
Long's
would
Drugs.
literally take us to
Rite
the
Aid.
store. We'd walk to the store to pick up the processed, the developed photos. How fun. All right, what we're going to talk about today, 9 minutes in, we've talked about cameras, which we should just stop and say a moment of thanks and blessings for the fact that we have cameras in our pockets now at all times.
Right?
It's a blessing and a curse.
Actual computers
For
in our
real.
pockets
Full-on computers,
that crash.
access to a wealth of information that you don't need to have at your fingertips.
It's true. I don't even have to look up. I just got a new phone 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So now I'm really finally taking advantage of Siri. I don't even have to like push the button. I can just go, "Hey Siri."
You're going to get so lazy.
I don't look up anything now.
He won't even use the phone. He just gets Siri to use it on his behalf.
Thank you.
Voice activated. It's so weird. And when Siri doesn't respond to something that he asks, he thinks that if he asks the question a different way, that she might understand it and do it there.
I'm also very polite to Siri. I say thank you.
No, you were saying
Please.
you fully structured a sentence in a way that sounded very formal. And I thought, what on earth has he got going on with Siri? All right, today's video is a good old just journal with me.
Okay.
We're super allergic to the cats today, I think.
I think so. It's also, a day of indulgence and chill out. So maybe that's what it is. Our bodies aren't fully woken up.
True. Just been resting.
Yeah.
Dealing with technical issues on the computer. Let's not go there. So this video is just a good old journal with me. I wanted to have a really nice little play in my journal. And then I was trying to de-stash a whole bunch of paper. So at the end of this video, there's a bunch of clips that I've filmed over a bunch of different days, de-stashing tons and tons and tons and tons of paper into big collages in a little traveler's notebook, a little Dilutions dialogue traveler's notebook, and a big A3 journal. So just enjoy the footage, I guess. We're going to give you podcast style voiceover today.
Cool.
Because you haven't been around for ages.
No, maybe a couple weeks ago. Or
you're on the Creativation blog, but like the vlog.
Yeah.
But to actually sit down and do a voiceover, when was the last time you did that?
I don't know. After the
It's
holidays?
been
Probably like
ages.
early January.
No, because I had all of my content pre-filmed for January.
Oh, I don't remember.
You weren't in it?
I don't know.
Unless you were, and I don't remember.
I think it's maybe around December, maybe Christmas.
Probably just before Christmas or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
How have you been?
I've been good. Thank you very much.
Have you been enjoying yourself creatively? I know you have. I want to let everyone know that you have.
You know, I have. This year has just been a funny kind of, not funny at all. It's just been a really solid, good year, I think, to this, like, start of 2019. I didn't really go in, like, with...
Still feels fresh.
Yeah, haven't really gone in with any, like, crazy resolutions, because I don't really do that. I used to do, like, theme my years, so I used to, like, give it a word. But I haven't really done that either. I think I've just kind of set the goal and set the focus to... I mean, honestly, just to be really transparent and vulnerable and kind of see just kind of the journey and the path that God has me on. And so I've been getting involved in our church and small group. And so that's been really great for my life. But then I've also creatively, particularly, have just been challenging myself to just go out and create and take a lot of pictures and get friends, do more photos and
be with more people
and more blog content. And, you know, so
yeah.
I just posted a new blog post.
I'll put it down below in the description.
Yeah, based on
Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah, inspired by the film Call Me By Your Name, which is one of...
You've got like a short novel written up at the start of that blog post.
I always do. I'm so long-winded.
Well, I just don't want you to have to go into it now because I know you could get carried away for about 5 years talking about it.
So maybe
it's a super sentimental reasoning for why you chose to tackle that subject matter. Mm-hmm. And it's a little deep, but at what you end up with, or what I think you ended up with the photos, I was really impressed because you learnt a lot, but it was also a lot of a challenge. I think all of your blog posts, as I look at them chronologically, I can see the challenge that you've faced and tackled in each one, and the growth from each blog post, which is super fascinating to me.
Thanks.
But also, I think it was just good to have you shoot in more of a way, because let's be real, you've been looking at doing a bit more editorial content.
Yeah.
Focusing on a bit of fashion.
Correct.
Getting out of the land of obvious and, veering
Expected.
away from any kind of cosplay references and anything too literal. You're going for more referencing.
Or too romantic, too glowy.
Yeah, you want to push yourself to do things you're unfamiliar with. And I mean, what better way to force yourself into outside of your comfort zone than to pretend you're shooting an editorial for Vogue.
Yeah.
So those have been really interesting because you had to approach so many different learning curves, especially with the fashion.
Yeah, the Mary Poppins one was a little tough.
The styling.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve sits there and we kind of put this stuff together sometimes, and he just does not understand that fashion doesn't have to be so literal.
Well, because I come from a very literal background when it comes... Well, I shouldn't even say that, very literal, but...
No, fashion's just difficult. It's weird.
And for me, my world is theater, and so, you take things that are derivative of the other things or things that are inspired by the character to build a look.
And costume is so exaggerated because you're trying to build a character into a costume so that the audience don't have to fill in those blanks every time they see a character.
And it just takes a fashion, and working in fashion editorials forces the viewer to do a little bit more work.
Well, it's so much more intimate a look at what's going on with a character or a certain outfit, because on stage, I mean, you got Velcro for quick changes. You've got quite exaggerated costume pieces to make a big statement to the people that are right up the back of the mezzanine.
Right.
But you, in film, when photography can get so close to a subject, the tricks are different.
Right.
But they're still tricks. So you've been learning the tricks, and that's been fun for me to watch. It's been fun to watch you stretch yourself like that, and I'm really proud of this latest one, only because you kind of moved away from the fashion editorial side of it. There was still a bit of that fashion referencing.
Totally.
But moved into more photo narrative, which I think is a world that a lot of us kind of live in as people that like to document or scrapbook.
Yeah.
Essentially, we try to capture snapshots of our own lives and put them into our journals. What you did with your photos, I felt like was its own type of journaling. And I think that's why it appealed to me so much, because I saw what you were trying to get, and I saw what you were trying to put out there. And even then with this, I want to say stupid because I say that all the time, but Steve and I were having this big old inside joke. He did, there goes the microphone. He did some hand lettering for the blog post. And, but even that's your own personal touch that you've put on something on a digital platform. I mean, to be honest, you're just kind of journaling at this point, so I'd like everyone to know that.
just journaling on the internet. No, it's been cool. Thank you for saying all those things. That's so sweet of you.
But it's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm super loving kind of the journey that I'm on, and I'm excited to see kind of what our next project is and how that will kind of come into fruition. And it's just the whole idea is to challenge myself to create, but also to inspire other people to create. And so the coolest thing about it that I find is bringing people along with me, other photographers, the models, of course, people who like to style, who do fashion stuff, and to kind of build that artist community where it's not really, there's no competition. It's just helping and inspiring each other to create and to play. Well,
that's also super important, and it's something that, I mean, I personally, I used to believe that, a part of my mission should be to go out and inspire. Ultimately, I've found that with that intention, it actually becomes very hard to do that, because people are inspired by so many different things that I had to kind of get that out of my head and thought, you know what, people are going to take what they're going to take from it. That shouldn't be my job to inspire. But what I want to do is dive so deep into my passion for this. I want to explore it. I want to work at it. I want to exercise it in a way that would show the true joy and passion I have for it. And I find that ultimately becomes the most inspirational thing, because I've looked at things that people have done outside of the disciplines I work in, and it's always that passion and that motivation that I see shine through. Yeah, that inspires me to do things I don't even particularly want to do.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally, no.
So that's what I think you've started stepping into, especially having them so collaborative, your shoots, and getting people in that have maybe only styled, their own wardrobe before, but now want to try styling a shoot, or having people second shoot with you that have never shot with these styled shoots before. Right. Giving other people a space to play in this kind of, space that you've built for yourself.
Yeah.
I think opening it up like that is just such a blessing, to so many other people.
Thanks.
And I think that truly is kind of what our callings are. I think we're blessed with those spiritual gifts, and you're supposed to share in them, and you're supposed to do the absolute most you can with them in the most selfless ways you can.
Well, because if you don't do anything with it, if you sit there with the gifting that you've been given, and you just kind of like you dig it in the ground, and you just kind of let it sit there,
what a waste.
What a waste. And that's not what I don't believe that's what we're called to do. I don't believe I'm called to do that.
Have you been in a space where that's happened before?
Absolutely. I've definitely taken a time where I'm like, no, this is just going to be for me, or I'm not really going to do that.
And you know how I felt about it? I felt a little indifferent.
Yeah, but
it's not even like the worst thing in the world. It doesn't ruin your life.
No, not at all.
But is there not that small part of you that just, it feels like guilt, and then it starts to grow to a little bit of like resentment for anyone else that you notice doing it?
And you're like, well, and then you kind of think like, well, I can do that. And it's like, well, you can, so why aren't you doing it?
Right.
So go do it.
And then you find the excuses for yourself, and then ultimately, who misses out on all of this?
Yeah, you do yourself.
You do. You miss out on the most of it. So if you've got FOMO, hopefully that's enough to keep you going. And if you don't, then hopefully, you feel that and you identify with those feelings that, I truly believe, just because of our faith or a little bit of conviction. But to be honest, whatever you believe, hopefully you do lean into whatever those feelings are and kind of just express that creativity in whatever way you feel like doing it. It doesn't have to be the same every day.
It doesn't have to be perfect either. And the thing is like, and, like in full disclosure, people are going to, you don't do it for people necessarily. You do it for yourself. You do it because out of obedience, like, this is the gifting that I've been given, so I'm going to create. And sometimes people are going to have a different reaction to it. What you invest 1,000% in might only get a 10% of a reaction, versus if you invest 10% in it, might get 1,000% of a reaction. You never know, but it's just that act of obedience and following through and saying, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to create. And then you actually find that the blessing comes in ways that are unexpected. Sometimes it has less to do with you and more the fact that you're supposed to be there to create a space for an individual who you're shooting, who just needs some level of encouragement to know that they are loved, and there is, and that they can be their authentic self. And so you find that the gifting is bigger than you. It's bigger than just a photo shoot, and it's bigger than just kind of, you know, your own sense of self.
Right, but you have to. That's one of those things that, you know, you learn through experience, and you learn over time how to disconnect yourself and your, you know, your self motivations, I guess.
And your validation as well from it.
Right, because especially once it's wrapped up in social media, it's such an interesting topic. I posted on Instagram this week, which I think we'll finish with this topic because we could get way too carried away, but I posted about accountability.
Yeah.
Because it's such a broad topic, and I haven't really unpacked absolutely everything, but working in social media, I've learned that I've had to have this level of accountability, like to a degree where I've never experienced it before, because once I've put myself out there and brought other people into that mix, suddenly that influence and that reach does have an impact on people. Whether it's small or not, you have to agree that at some point, once people have been watching you day in, day out, or they've binge watched you for 3 weeks, or they've been following you for 2 years, there's a level of connection and attachment there that has a consistency. There's a pattern to it. There's a rhythm to it. There's suddenly a part of your life in a way that you probably never would have expected that would happen in the past. So what happens then when one of those people in that relationship, and I'm just going to say me, for example, because I'm the one with that following, what happens when I start dipping out on my own creativity? Or what happens when I start becoming a little bit more self-serving with it? Or a little bit more complacent about it? The issue I find is that people that have been around for long enough, or anyone that feels like they've invested, whether it's time, you know, prayers, good energy, thoughts, sent happy mail before, anyone that's done that, once they start to see that in me, feel the need to get me back on track in a way that would make them feel comfortable. And because we all identify with accountability. In any job you have, you're accountable to do a certain job. Now, doing it for yourself and being on social media opens up such an interesting new world, because there's no manager to tell you to do it a certain way. Right. You have to monitor yourself. And that's where I say the degree of accountability has to be so much greater. I have to keep myself so accountable so that no one else that feels the need to do that for me. And it's not always accusatory. It's not always bad. Some people, I think, are just very compassionate and they just want the best for you. But there's no better way to tell someone at one point, you know. I've had this example kind of a bigger YouTuber that has literally a country's worth of followers. And there was, you know, these promises that would keep coming. Like, I'm going to post more often. I'm going to post every month. I'm going to do this and that. And unfortunately, he wouldn't commit to that. And then there was a level of dishonesty to that, whether he meant it or not. The issue with that was that when people would try to keep him accountable to the things that he set up for himself, being the owner of his own business, his defense was, well, you don't pay my bills, so it's not really for you to say. Now, here's the interesting thing that I think people start to forget about influence, is that there's a responsibility you have. Once people leverage you into a place where you can do what you want to do every day, and is most oftentimes the job that everyone watching would love to do. It's so interesting to think that, yes, money did not exchange hands. That follower may never have become a customer. That follower just might have watched the ads that run on your video. But you know what? If that follower didn't, and the millions of other followers that didn't watch those ads, you wouldn't be where you are. Right. So money didn't exchange hands, but there was a relationship there that built. And where it was once a give and take, it's starting to become very obvious that it's a lot more of a take. And this is a two-way street. So when I felt bad because I was watching some of this downfall, and it wasn't terrible, like, you know, no one's career ended or anything, but I felt terrible for these followers because they've invested so much time. They've invested so much energy. They've invested so many kind words to this creator when they were feeling dejected and down and out and kind of abandoned. And, you know, to get a message like, well, you don't get to have a say because you don't pay my bills, when you wouldn't even be in that spot if it weren't for the followers.
Yeah, that seems a little... I mean, I don't know this individual, and I don't know who you're referring to at all, so I don't want
to say it because it's like one of the biggest YouTubers, and I don't want to get taken down.
No, and I don't think it's. I'm not trying. I don't think there's any type of defamation of character happening here. I think it's just an observation. But I think with accountability, I think comes the understanding of what your why is. Why do you create? Why do you have a YouTube channel? Why do you have a following? Why are you an influencer? And I think the more that you understand your why and the specificity behind your why will then help motivate all of your actions and keep you accountable to yourself because of your why.
That's what a mission statement is.
Right.
That's why.
So if you go in,
set it up.
right, and so if you go in just kind of blind, thinking that it's going to be whatever, and I went into my photography business completely blind, thinking, oh yeah, people are going to like it, and now I start to realize like, oh, it's so much bigger than myself, and I need to really establish what my why is and why do I do this, etc., etc., etc. And I think once you do that, that you're, like I just said, it keeps you're keeping yourself accountable to that. And
you know what that shows, and you know what that builds? There's an opportunity to build respect with your customers or your followers or your tribe at that point.
It's also, right, yeah, go ahead.
But I think, I was using that as an example because I guess the quote that I came across was that accountability is about closing the communications loop. And you're right, at some point you have to disclose your why. And if you're not willing to, people are going to try and unpack your why. People are going to try and look for your intentions. And this is what brings me back to how difficult it is if you are a bit more self-serving in your creativity, because nothing becomes a little more discouraging for people when they realize, after having followed you for a while or having invested a lot in you, that you were really just here all along to be given to.
Right, and the difference, and there's nothing wrong with doing it, being creative for yourself and only for yourself.
No, not
just
at
let
all.
people know. That's part of that communication. Is be direct, be open, be honest. And, as somebody who is a content creator like you are and somebody who has a life, and life happens, we go through ups and downs, and, there's peaks and valleys. And if you're in a moment of a valley and you say, hey guys, I just need a minute, I'm not going to be able to post a video today or this week. If you have a level of honesty and transparency, people are going to root for you and people are going to be on your side and they're totally going to understand.
Well, I think that's what I learned from that quote, was that it's not always accusatory. I don't have to be defensive about it all the time. Most of the time, I could just very, openly say, I'm exhausted. I can't do that. I'm so sorry. But also, I can be more accountable for what I promise people. I'm not going to start telling you, this and this and this is going to come if I know it can't come.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. If you preempt that, if you have enough accountability, hopefully you're avoiding a lot of those, roadblocks that you have to deal with. But if you do find yourself in that moment of having to close that communications loop, it's as simple as saying transparently why you're doing it and giving people the intention that they're trying to understand in you. And it's going to be really hard if that intention is impure or that it's something that doesn't make that person feel good.
Because once it starts to become a pattern and once people start to understand and see this pattern going, then they're not going to be so gracious anymore.
Your intention looks like money every single time, that's going to run out people's energy quick.
Yeah.
But if your intention is to really give and you've come across hard times, people really do understand that. And, a lot of it shows. We love to... as Christians, we always believe that the truth will out anyway. So, kind of keep yourself as accountable as is safe to do on the internet. But, it's been fascinating for me because this is one of those things that really does float around in my head constantly. And I'm always thinking about it because I've had moments before where people have questioned my intentions or they've questioned and felt the need to keep me accountable to a precedent that they, expected that I would stay committed to. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault. But in that opportunity, I get to express, no, this is what I'm still here to do. This is what I still want to do. I'm still here for you in this way, in this way, in this way. It's a limited capacity for right now. I might change that when I become more capable. All these YouTube videos becoming just a Friday this year. Yeah. I was able to put up an extra one last week. I wasn't able to put up an extra one this week. But I've had to be more accountable going into this new year, thinking, let's not confuse people as to why I'm a little bit more limited in my ability to upload to YouTube. I nearly ran myself into the ground, or technically just burnt out last year.
Right, and you also have different ambitions and different goals that will serve the community later on. But
I have much different goals right now, that take up a lot more time and are a lot bigger of an investment of my energy and my time, and my creative resources. Not to get super deep on you or anything, I just thought it was a fascinating topic to discuss because as you look into social media, it seems so fickle sometimes. It seems like it goes up and it goes down so quickly.
It is.
Right, and I think to keep yourself as safe as you can, or if you've ever had any questions about how I approach it, I mean, that's technically it. I try to preempt whatever issues I don't need to face, and a lot of that is just, staying accountable, and
right.
That's hard to do.
It is, and also
to keep yourself that way.
Well, and also to be careful about what you promise. It's what does she say in Mary Poppins? That's a pie crust promise, easily made, easily broken.
Well, the funny thing about that is that if there's what's even worse, if you're not accountable to a boss or a middle management or anything, once it cracks once,
it'll crack again and again
and again. But what's even worse, if you get away with it, or if you've been enabled to think that it was okay and you've let yourself go there, it is so hard to bring yourself back to a place where you can stay on top of it. Because, I'll take an inch and run a mile. I'll run 50.
But that's everybody. That's
right.
I mean, even me, like with the gym that I go to, like there's a certain accountability that you sign up for it, and then you have to, if you're not going to go to the class, you have 8 hours between cancellation. If you cancel within the 8 hours, you end up paying for the class, and it's a whole thing. And sometimes the gym is lenient if there's a last minute emergency. And then I started seeing that I could kind of switch things around, and I went up to them this week and I was like, hey, look, I'm really sorry. I don't want to take advantage of your guys' good graces. You guys have been so kind to me, and my schedule is just crazy. And they said, hey, no worries. We understand that your schedule is crazy. We're happy to adjust accordingly when we can. But that doesn't mean that I'm still going to want to take advantage of them, because I don't want to be that individual.
Well, and I think that leads to where we should probably wrap up. At the end of the day, we're all going to do what we're going to do. And, being accountable, neither here nor there at the end of the day, when you realize that the only person that will truly miss out is yourself.
Yeah, and as a way of helping each other, encouraging accountability, I think is a whole other topic too. It's just, how do we encourage accountability, and how do we make sure that we're doing it in a way and in a fashion that is kind, that is loving, and that ultimately benefits all parties involved.
I'm working on a lot more encouragement. I think I haven't reached this stage with accountability to know what I haven't reached problem solving yet, because I'm still trying to understand how it works in the specific scenarios that I find myself in. But I have had moments before where I've truly wondered how was the best way to keep someone accountable to this, because I've noticed a pattern and I don't want this to affect this person like that. But I'll be honest, I could not figure out a good way to do it. It's actually quite difficult to know.
Well, and then maybe at that point, that's where you literally let go and let God.
Yeah, and I would just pray for an opportunity to show encouragement.
Right. Ultimately, encouragement. Always.
Yeah. And those opportunities show up, and you just pray for the best, I guess.
Yeah. It's an interesting topic, though. It's you don't always think about it, but it's tough. Accountability is a tough one. Accountability for self also is tough. I'm not going to eat that. But then you do end up eating it. I just had 10 nuggets today.
That just really hit me hard with that cake that I know is in the kitchen.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Look, we are not perfect beings. No one's expecting anyone to be perfect. I think what I'm more trying to get at is, as with most of the videos that I create, I'm always trying to let you know a little bit more behind the scenes of how it works on social media at any given moment, how it works with myself and the way that I like to approach business, or the way I like to approach creativity, because I've actually found a lot of joy in all of those processes. Yeah. And if I can leave you with anything, hopefully it's a few tools to get closer to that same joy that I experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anything you would like to say, Steve?
Thanks for having me. It was fun. I have to go put some frosting on that cake.
There's legit a full yellow cake in the kitchen that's just been freshly baked. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And I will get back on my health journey. Speaking of accountability, I knew once I said it online something would happen, and I'd have to go and tell everybody.
The thing is, but Valentine's Day, right? So it's the Valentine's Day is this week.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, I'm not here for the Galentines.
Why not?
I don't know. Well, I guess it's.
You don't have any gal pals?
I don't have. Well, I do, but what about the boys? If the girls get Galentines, do the boys get Palentines?
That sounds biblical.
Even better.
Palestine's Day.
Palestine's Day.
Look,
the thing is,
I'm not quite sure. I think you can have whatever you want, Steve. I think you can have your cake and eat it too.
I literally am going to do that. But also Galentine's, which is fine, but why can't it just be Valentine's? Because Valentine's is not restricted to lovers. It's a day to celebrate love.
I've literally had like more outrageous Valentines with friends than I've kind of ever had with partners.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
You know
just
what I mean?
it's a celebration of love. And we all love,
Ashley, if you're out there, you know what we did. No, we were talking about, because honestly, when you're doing it with your friends, you're kind of sending it up. So you're really making the most of every kind of gratuitous Valentine's Day gimmick. We just went the ultra most plus, and it was the most fun thing ever. And I've literally never done that much for a partner.
Right. Well, because you're also just making fun of the the typical.
I should try and make fun of Christmas. Really amp that one up.
I love Christmas.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't. Christmas is so good.
Christmas was like less than 2 months ago.
That feels nuts.
Yeah, right?
That feels nuts to think of it like that. When's Easter? April.
I think the beginning of April this year. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes it's like the middle of March, and I don't understand that.
My Easter feelings are so random. Who decides that, though?
Who says, oh, well, we're going to put Easter here?
I know. Look, all my Easter memories, this is going to sound so weird, but was of Catholic primary school, and just so desperate to play a key player in the Stations of the Cross.
Oh, the crucifixion?
And I was just never really picked for that. Why not?
Look.
I'm so extra.
You know what's so funny is that I was actually reading today. I don't know whatever. I'm doing a 1-year Bible thing, and I was reading in, right now we're in the book of, I think we're in Matthew. I don't remember. We keep switching back and forth, but we definitely had a crucifixion account. And just kind of reading it and as an adult and going back and kind of really understanding what this is, I'm like, that's some heavy stuff.
Like literally the heaviest.
Like the heaviest.
Let's not talk about that today.
Anyway,
I want to leave everyone on a lighter note than that.
Anyway,
so,
it's
Easter bunny, chocolate, eggs. No, we used to do big old Easter egg hunts.
We did too. I never got an Easter basket.
My gran would find the eggs and then she would re-hide her stash. And it was so funny because my auntie's dog came into the house and she was being really weird in the kitchen. I was like, what is Bella doing?
Did she eat the chocolate?
She was in a vase and I was like, that's so random. Inside that vase, like at the bottom underneath the potted plant, was all my gran's stash of Easter chocolates. And Bella was in there eating them all.
Well, dogs can eat chocolate. It's not good for them.
She was eating the foil on the outside too, but she's still alive. I don't know much about dogs. I don't think it's funny. I'm just saying, she's alive, so we can laugh about it now. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I had a great time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always love to, pop in.
Yeah, I think next week we're starting the stamp series for the Concepts stamp set.
From the Creativation stamps?
Yes. They are set to arrive tomorrow.
I feel like I could do that because I watched you do it so many times.
You should. You should get on there and do it.
Oh my goodness. I'm not.
You should
I'm
lead
not making
the tutorial.
I could. I'm not making any promises.
I'm going to keep you accountable to that.
Oh, thanks.
Alrighty. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.